Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Adam, for that introduction and for your contributions to this powerhouse industry. I'm really excited to see where your efforts next lead all of us. And I want to also especially thank Adam. He's so good at staying in touch with me and making sure that I understand what is going on out here. And that's been really helpful. I want to say thanks to everyone for welcoming me back to this year's Pacific Offshore Wind Summit. It is really great to be here. It's an honor to speak to this gathering for the first time as the Acting Deputy Secretary of Interior. I was here in 2022, and I just feel like so much has happened since then. It's not been that long, and I'm really lucky to have worked with so many of you in my previous role in the department's Land and Minerals Management Office. I am really excited to be here. I was excited to be invited back because the summit really is at the heart of the historic progress to grow the offshore wind industry up and down the Pacific coast. Just this week alone, we've advanced really essential discussions on everything from building out floating offshore wind, which everyone here is talking about, to working hand in hand with myriad ocean users, to ensuring that our transition to a clean energy future is done well and with equity and justice at top of mind. I know you also got to hear from my great colleagues, Bureau of Ocean Energy Management Director Liz Klein and Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement Director Kevin Sly. And together they are really accomplishing some truly unprecedented progress toward the Biden-Harris administration's clean energy goals. This is just the type of collaboration that we all need to achieve for our clean energy future, because we know we really do not have any time to waste. From the start, tackling the climate crisis has been a centerpiece of the Biden-Harris administration's agenda. I know how important it is to all of you as well. I think few people understand as well as West Coasters just how drastic the crisis really is. You have extreme storms, dangerous floods, really disastrous wildfires that can destroy entire towns, pollute your air. And this is our reality, and we have to confront it head on. I will say that thankfully I know everyone in this room is up to the challenge. President Biden and Secretary Haaland have made it clear that when we talk about climate change, we are talking about jobs, good-paying union jobs. Unlocking the potential of clean energy is a really critical part of this effort. I know you all know that. And this ambitious goal has been our North Star over the past 3.5 years. And our progress toward achieving it alongside the partners in this room has been tremendous. We are moving full steam ahead in our efforts to achieve President Biden's ambitious goal of deploying 30 gigawatts of offshore wind by 2030 and 15 gigawatts of floating offshore wind by 2035. As you heard from Director Klein when she was here, our administration has approved the nation's first eight offshore wind projects in 3.5 years, 2 of which are already delivering clean, renewable energy to communities on the East Coast. It is really exciting and transformational, the work we're doing together. We've approved the first offshore wind leases in new regions also, like the Gulf of Mexico, and we're taking a look also at the Gulf of Maine. And of course, we're making record progress toward making floating offshore wind, what so many of the folks here are so excited about, a reality for communities on the West Coast and in other places as well. We are undeniably on our way toward a clean energy future that serves every household in America. And it's thanks to so many partners in this room, from industry experts to state and local officials, to tribes and fishing communities and other ocean users who are helping us to make this progress both possible and durable. Thank you for your enduring partnership, your ideas, and for working with us to do this right. Beyond approved projects and successful lease sales, there are several key policy-based indicators that prove that the offshore wind industry is here to stay. I'm going to rewind a little bit to a few weeks ago when Secretary Haaland joined some of you at the International Partnering Forum in New Orleans to make several big and really exciting announcements that are launching the offshore wind industry into the future. The first was the finalization of updated regulations for offshore renewable energy development. This final rule, which was informed by many of you here today, ensures that BOEM and BSEE's regulatory framework for offshore wind is cost-efficient, simplified, and provides certainty for developers coast to coast. Importantly, the updated rule modernizes the existing regulations and streamlines and eliminates those that were overly complex or unnecessary. That happens from time to time in regulations, I think you all know. So now, processes like survey flexibility, facility design, and renewable energy auction regulations will be improved for the benefit of both developers and federal regulatory leaders. The rule is informed by lessons learned over the 15 years, almost 15 years, since it was originally crafted, and it's going to ensure that we continue to build out the offshore wind industry effectively and efficiently, really importantly, at the pace that our future demands, with safety and environmental protections still top of mind. We are assessing, we're learning, we're strengthening how we do business together with every partner and ocean user. This is, of course, just one piece of our broader government-wide push to ensure our permitting practices achieve what they need to responsibly and efficiently in meeting the climate crisis head-on. The second announcement was the release of the country's next 5-year offshore wind leasing schedule. Over the next 5 years, the department will hold up to 12 offshore wind energy lease sales from the Atlantic to the Pacific to the Gulf of Mexico and even beyond to regions like the U.S. territories. This is really exciting. For the obvious reasons it's exciting, but it also means that developers and communities can expect predictability and transparency, and above all, certainty as we all work together to plan for future projects. It also means that each of our partners, from tribes to states to fisheries to academia, have more time to weigh in on the process. Everyone can see where we're heading, and we think that's really important. All of this means more momentum for what is already a thriving, sustainable future that truly benefits each of us. As the department begins to implement this innovative lease schedule, we'll continue to look to each of you for your partnership, your expertise, your guidance, your enthusiasm, for what's ahead, because we know that more good things are on the way. These recent updates really set the stage for the success of something I know that you've all been talking about. I've seen everybody in sort of groupings throughout the day, and you've had days here, floating offshore wind energy. It's just a fact that we're not going to meet our clean energy goals without embracing and advancing floating offshore wind for communities up and down the West Coast and elsewhere. With 2/3 of the nation's offshore wind resources in deep waters, floating wind can help us reach these areas we once thought were unattainable. We can't harness the clean energy potential that exists offshore of states like California without this technology and without communities and key partners at the forefront of this progress. And that's why since day one, our administration has been enthusiastic and working at building out this essential leg of the offshore wind industry. And of course, in 2022, we held the historic offshore wind lease sale off the coast of California. It was the first ever sale in the Pacific region, but it was also the first sale in the United States to support an area where we'll move forward the use of floating offshore wind technology. You all know this, the auction included 5 lease areas, potential to unlock more than 4.5 gigawatts of offshore wind energy, and that's enough to power more than 1.5 million homes and support thousands of new jobs. And importantly, the lease sale included multiple lease stipulations designed to promote and develop a robust domestic U.S. supply chain while advancing flexibility in transmission planning and creating good-paying union jobs. It's important to us that as American workers build up this key industry, we infuse existing and future projects with labor agreements that benefit workers throughout every phase of the effort. This, of course, is already taking off in California with your state's ambitious goals to achieve 5 gigawatts of offshore wind energy by 2030 and 25 gigawatts of capacity by 2045. California, of course, is not the only West Coast state that's getting in on this historic opportunity. In February, BOEM finalized wind energy areas off the coast of Oregon. Our team has put extensive care, thought, concern for community input into these areas, which hold a combined 2.4 gigawatts of clean, renewable energy potential. And in partnership with our Pacific Northwest partners in the room, we are moving toward a lease sale. The steps we're taking together are big, but we know we have to keep at it if we're going to make floating offshore wind energy be the viable energy source we know it can be. We're really proud of our efforts to contribute to this administration's all-of-government approach to the clean energy future, to include serving as a core partner in the Floating Offshore Wind Shot Summit, the second convening of which I know is happening tomorrow. And this interagency effort, which is spanning the departments of the Interior, Energy, Commerce, Transportation, is laser focused on making floating offshore wind competitive through a simple and ambitious goal to reduce the cost of floating offshore wind energy by over 70% by 2035, and to invest in the technologies that are needed to achieve our cost reduction and deployment goals. But the summit, of course, isn't just about the federal government's role. We're convening all perspectives, from state to industry to stakeholders, to make sure we make floating offshore wind a core pillar of our clean energy future. I'm excited for the progress that I know the summit will advance, but our approach towards bolstering this industry doesn't even end there. We know, as you do, that we can't ensure families and businesses have access to clean energy without expansive transmission infrastructure. We have to bring all this new power to shore in a thoughtful, responsible way, and that's why we joined with the Department of Energy to launch the West Coast Offshore Wind Transmission Convening Series. It's a mouthful. We want to create opportunities to help identify and solve the critical challenges that are facing offshore wind transmission, issues like planning and development, siting, permitting, and forming fruitful partnerships. Through the convening series, which is inspired by a similar series we held focused on Atlantic offshore wind development, we will better understand transmission-related challenges, and most importantly, what we learn will help us identify potential solutions together. The feedback that we receive is already informing our recommendations for offshore wind transmission development and for planning and permitting policy. Collaboration between agencies, tribal nations, states, regional transmission operators, developers, utilities, labor unions, ocean users, everybody will be our guide as we map out what success looks like and work to create opportunities available to all communities. The West Coast Series kicked off in January, and it runs through 2024. So if you haven't yet, I encourage you to attend an upcoming workshop, and I'm so grateful to the folks at BOEM for helping to bring this workshop to life. So we've got a lot going on, and we're so bullish about this industry and what it will mean for West Coast communities. We know that none of this work would be possible without the drive, the commitment, and the dedication that comes from people in this room. So whether you're here as a state, a tribe, member of industry, labor, any other group, the conversations, engagement, and trust that's being built, I think here in this room, outside this room, and in the work that we are all doing together every single day, they're driving this industry's really exciting and fast progress. At Interior, we know that as ever, there are more questions to answer, there's more roadblocks to overcome, and more conversations always to be had. But we can do hard things. We are doing hard things together, and we all see the opportunity for the future. Together, we're building an industry that will transform the way millions of people power their lives every single day for the better and for generations to come. The Interior Department is really proud to be your partner, and our door will always stay open as we continue to build our clean energy future together. I want to thank you all again for having me today. I know it's been a successful conference. I've been, as I said, seeing people huddling together, and really excited for all the amazing work that's yet to come. Thanks again.